Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Produce Moms Podcast. My name's Lori Taylor. I love hosting this show, and we are actually kind of doing an encore of sorts. In March, we were able to do a really wonderful series in partnership with our brand partners at Naturipe Farms. And as you know, they grow the most delicious berries in the world. And one of their top product lines is their blueberries. They really are famous for being the best blueberry grower ever. And we really wanted to connect with Beth Bocock for that March series. And like all farmers, she was very busy and it just didn't work out. We had some scheduling difficulties, but we made that commitment to Beth in the moment and to, of course, our partners at Naturipe Farms. We want to tell Beth's story. We want her to be part of this great series. So, hey, every day at the Produce Moms is Women Empowerment Day. And that is what we're celebrating today. We're talking about Beth, who is part of a 5th generation family farm. And Beth represents the 3rd generation of the family farm. They grow 100% of their crop as blueberries. It's always been blueberries. They're located in the blueberry capital of the world, which is South Haven, Michigan. And today on the show, we're going to talk about how being a woman in agriculture has empowered her life and how she has been empowered uniquely by Naturipe Farms. So with that, Beth, welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast. We're really glad you're here.
Hi, Lori. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate all the wiggling we had to do to get together on this, but I'm excited to talk to you today.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here, Beth. And tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, 5th generation family farm, you being part of that 3rd generation. Tell us about this family history and more about the farms, Bumbleberry Acres.
Absolutely. So I actually grew up in produce with my family in North Carolina. Obviously, I have the accent. I get that question every day.
You mean you didn't get that from South Haven, Michigan, Beth?
Absolutely did not get this from South Haven, Michigan. And when I go back home, people always remark that I did not lose the accent. Oh. But I grew up in produce with my parents. My father was actually a produce broker, which means he bought and sold produce, and moved into some farming and then moved into potato repacking. And all through that time, I worked in the family business. And I made a vow to myself that I would never marry a farmer. So here I am living the dream. I met my husband through my father, and it turned into the fairy tale come true kind of thing. We have 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy. So I know all about empowering young women. I started my own company with a gift basket program when I was in my first year of college. And then I continued that on through after I graduated college. Then I taught school for a couple of years, and then the produce industry was calling. So I went back to that, and I met my husband, and he brought me to Michigan. There's a lot about Michigan that you don't know when you live in North Carolina. So one of those things being the cold. I can't say that I love that too much, but the blueberries do happen to love it. So when I came to the farm, only his sister had children at the time, and she has 5 children, 1 girl and 4 boys.
Oh, wow.
So we balanced out the family with 4 girls and 1 boy. And then we jumped into the farming that was already established. So his family started farming in the early 70s with a little 7-acre farm that they wanted to do in the summer because they were educators and they were looking for a little summer job.
Right.
And that has now blossomed into over 350 acres of blueberries. And then in addition to that is Bumbleberry Acres, which is what I'm in charge of.
Okay.
It is our agritourism project.
And Beth, you are the very first person. Agritourism is so important. You are the very first person we've had on this entire show. We're over 200 episodes deep. We started the show in 2018. You're the very first person we've had to talk about agrotourism. So I'm exceptionally excited now about the podcast today, folks. You tuned in for a good one. All right, carry on.
Well, thank you. It just kind of turned out to be a little bit of a surprise. At the time, we had about 500 acres of blueberries. And for some reason, the name of our main farm is A New Day Farms, because in the Bible it says every day is a new day. And that was kind of the focus we wanted on our farm, that no matter what happens, tomorrow's a new day. We come at it again just like it's a brand new day. Mm-hmm. So our name accidentally ended up on a UPIC list. And in our area, there are a lot of blueberries. I mean, sure. Every farmer that we know grows blueberries. And it was something my husband and I had always talked about and dreamed about, having a little farm-side stand, the roadside stand. And
right.
A little roadside stand came up for sale. And that family had actually been in business since 1857. Wow. And it had only been owned by their family. And so, we talked to them, and just through mutual conversations of what we both saw we wanted for the farm, they decided to sell the farm to us. So we are the second owners of what is now Bumbleberry Acres. It used to be a 600-acre farm, and now it's a 44-acre farm. Just, economy over time had dwindled the 600 acres down to 44 acres. Mm-hmm. And so we took over the farm with their vision in mind, but also with our vision in mind. And I think we did things a little bit differently than other people probably would, because we really wanted to create a place that would be somewhere that we would want to take our children. So with that in mind, we took our children out to the farm and let them loose. We said, okay, what would you want to do if you came here? And because of that conversation,
besides work, right?
Besides work, like if this was a vacation destination for you, what would you like to do? And so first thing that happened was the playground. The next thing that happened was miniature farm animals. We have a miniature animal petting zoo, and it's all farm animals that are miniature. And so they're not intimidating to children. Mm-hmm. And we made those things free. That's another thing. So for us, it was important for families to not feel like they were going to go to a farm and get nickeled and dimed to death. Mm-hmm. So we don't charge anything for any of the activities on our farm. We charge for the things that you purchase. So when people go out to UPIC, they are taken almost by the hand by what we call our Bumbleberry Girls. We have girls that are specifically trained to interact with customers and treat them like family, because we want people to come to our farm and feel like they've had a day with our family. Right. And so they take them out to the field. They show them how to pick. Now, these girls have to know everything from the dirt to the berry on a blueberry bush. And every year we hire at least 3 new people, and they start their training. And one of the first things they always say is, I didn't know that this job meant I had to be a farmer. Mm-hmm. And, so we empower them in learning where things come from. It's always surprising to me how many people don't realize where their food comes from. And I get some of the craziest questions, like, people don't know that sunflower seeds come from sunflowers. I mean, it's incredible to me that people don't give a thought to where things take place on the farm. So we wanted to make sure that people are learning at all times while they're at our farm. We also have a bakery, and we also do some fall activities. So we do grow some pumpkins, but it's not part of our traditional farming program. Right. We also have a corn maze and wagon rides. We do those things so that we can extend our season, but our primary focus is on the Blueberry UPIC, and then everything that we grow, we cook as well. So people may come in one day and have vegetable soup because that's what came out of the garden that day. Nice. Or, we make lots and lots of pies. We make lots of blueberry pies. When we have our Blueberry Festival, which is in August,
yes,
I think Well, I know in 3 days we make over 600 pies.
Oh
And
my
that's just our base.
goodness.
That's our jumping off point. We recuperate a few days later and go back and check the numbers, but we always start with 600, and we also do around 1,500 to 1,800 turnovers, which are, some people call them hand pies, some people call them fried pies, but here they call them turnovers. But so we're very, very busy, but we always have in the back of our mind that we are doing it for the families that come and doing it for our family as a way to teach them responsibility and, just a general respect for the earth and what they can do to help provide this product to consumers.
Right. And I think that those sentiments, Beth, that's like an overall theme of agrotourism. Like, what's the point of agrotourism over, other festivals, events, and tourist destinations where we can take our families? And I think you just nailed it. The responsibility, where does our food really come from? How are we going to care for Mother Earth? All of those sentiments that you have shared, that, in my opinion, that is what agrotourism is. So just a couple of clarifying questions that I have. So basically, your family business, your fifth generation family farm, you guys essentially have two entities: a New Day Farms, which is that is your growing operation, and it is through the growing operation at a New Day Farms where you grow those blueberries and they end up in the Naturipe packages that myself and all of our listeners find at the grocery store. And then the second thing that you do is your agrotourism. And that's this grand event that you are, that the Bumbleberry Acres, like this amazing place where I have to come with my children and my nieces and nephews. But that's a separate part of your operation. And, I'll speak candidly here. this is a great example of diversifying income, creating, new income streams, creating new opportunities for, these are sales driving strategies. This is far beyond the warm and fuzzies. I know that, Beth and her family have a passion, and they've done a great job of staying true to their mission for accessibility to all. Anyone who wants to come to this farm, you can, and all of the activities you'll be able to do free of charge. But at the end of the day, the bakery and the U-Pick and many of the other ways where they're making money through that Bumbleberry Acres, that's a great diversification strategy for the family farm.
Right. And that was one of the reasons why we did it. Previously, when I only had New Day Blueberry Farms, that farm, I was in charge of their food safety and all government paperwork. And I have a tendency to talk a lot. That, according to the family, I'm the talker. I know you can't hardly believe that.
I love it.
True. And so when we decided to do Bumbleberry Acres, it was almost a unanimous decision that I would be in charge of that, simply because I have no problem talking to anyone.
You're the hospitality captain. I can see it. I can see it. We're 10 minutes into this show, and I can see it.
Yeah.
So.
And all of my children are kind of that way too. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. None of us have ever met a stranger, which is really important when you work with the public. Mm-hmm. When we work at the farm, we call it the farm. That the main farm is New Day Blueberry. When we work there, we're with the same people all day, every day. We're mm-hmm. working on the line, grading blueberries, or working on the harvester, taking the blueberries and putting in new lugs and driving the tractors and mowing the grass and, all those things that you do when you're growing during your growing season, and, making sure that those berries are perfect to go to Naturipe. But on the retail side, we're doing all those things plus interacting with the public. Mm-hmm. And it was brought to my attention the other day by a local friend of mine, and she said, you should really post pictures of all this work you guys do in the off season, because people think that blueberry farmers just kind of show up and the berries are ready and you pick them and you sell them. And there's a lot that goes into farming that most people don't realize. We've spent the
very
last
year
2 weeks
round. Yes, very year round.
pruning blueberries. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And, there's this idea that farmers, just kind of wait around for their crop to happen and then, hey, they're rolling in the money. And that's not really how it goes. There's a lot
and
of
I'm
time
hoping,
and
Beth,
effort
that no
goes
one
into
listening to
that.
this show today thinks that. But if you do, we're fact checking you right now. Okay. Beth is setting the record straight. Farming's the ultimate
It is a lot of work.
365 day a year job. And 100%. As a matter of fact, to Beth's point about farmers raking it in, like right now, we're all seeing our prices of groceries, rise and the inflation and at the grocery store that's happening. I can assure you, as someone who's privileged to work with many, growers here in the United States and really this half of the world, the returns are not getting back to the growers. I mean, the farmers they're dealing with the profit crunches the same way that we're dealing with, this sudden rise in our expenses. And food security is national security. It's really important that we empower, especially our domestic farmers here in the United States. So we're with you, Beth, 100% of the way here at the Produce Moms. And it's one of the reasons we so love working with companies like Naturipe. We want to see farms like yours be very successful and profitable and
we appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, your profit directly relates to our ability to create a more sustainable, healthy planet and continuing to, grow safe food. Like all of those efforts come with cost, and the farmers that actually have the proper level of return, they can do those things. They can also pay fair wages. Like, all of that is only empowered and possible with profit. So it's all interconnected.
Right. And I'm really glad that you guys are pointing those things out, because it's a little discouraging when people see the prices in the grocery store from the perspective of the person purchasing them and from the perspective of the farmer, because most people don't realize what happens between the farm and the grocery store. Everything is going up, and that makes that cost of goods higher. I mean, we've got gas prices are through the roof, and cardboard of all things, which is a crazy thing to think about, but finding cardboard boxes is almost impossible.
Right.
And then you've got, the cost of all the containers and the printing and the jars and the lids and all these different things.
The crop protection prices. I mean, everything's going up for sure.
Yeah. That's
labor, everything.
Crop protection is through the roof. Yes.
Yeah.
That one is actually crazy right now.
But, I mean, levels our industry's never seen. And when we say crop protection, folks, just to define that, we're talking pesticide, herbicide, fungicide, fertilizer. That's a wide umbrella term that we use in farming to represent all of those things. And it's for organic or conventional farming alike. So Beth, let's talk a little bit about, the original reason we slated you to be on this show is for that female empowerment story, and how, we were able to spotlight some really amazing females from the Naturipe Farms family. And tell us a little bit more about how Naturipe has empowered you.
I think it's exciting that you have featured some of the women of Naturipe, because I don't know of another company that has so many women who are in such amazing levels of management. So I think that's fabulous. My husband happens to be one of the boys at Naturipe. He's actually the vice president of product management, which means he's the one that makes decisions that are 6 to 8 weeks out. And he talks to farmers every day, and he gets to go to meetings and meet with people to talk to them about, what the farming aspect is really like. And through him and through Naturipe, I've been able to go on various trips with him, and I have been able to take part in a lot of the education that they provide. Naturipe is very, very good about making sure that their farmers understand everything they need to, everything from, the soil and what kind of things you need in horticulture to the legal ramifications of things, and using labor from outside of the U.S. and various different things. So Naturipe is very good at supporting the farmer, no matter male or female. They don't look at you as male or female. They look at you as the farmer. And so that for me, that has been fabulous. And another great thing is the networking that we are able to get. You know, there are, as you said, many powerful women at Naturipe, and I'm just amazed that I get to meet these ladies and get to talk with these ladies and be friends with these women. You know, they have areas of expertise that are just phenomenal. You know, everyone from the CFO to the director of marketing to, you know, the girls that run the reception office, they're all so intelligent and so empowered that they make you be more accountable to who you are and who you represent. And so I think through those women, it's empowering itself.
Yeah.
And so I'm very
agree with
happy
you.
to have been exposed to those women.
Yep.
Just
even as a third party
Yeah.
that is, you know, contracted in this wonderful marketing partnership that we have with Naturipe. I completely echo your sentiments where, you know, this team of very empowered women at Naturipe, and really the entire team, male and female alike, but you know, hey, female power, we're talking about it today on the podcast. So,
Exactly.
but they force you to raise the bar. You know, it's like, you want to run in this room, you're going to have to, you know, come up to our standards. And it's a very uplifting environment as well. I feel very supported by all the women at Naturipe. So it was a absolute joy to spotlight folks and meet more wonderful females like yourself, Beth, that are part of what makes Naturipe Farms so special. So you mentioned previously you grew up in North Carolina, and you've been part of, you know, the farming industry, the fresh produce industry specifically. I mean, it sounds like pretty much your whole life, right? I mean, your parents were in this industry, so you're raised as part of it. When you made that move to actually be on the farm in Michigan, approximately how many years ago was that?
So that would have been 23 years ago.
Okay. So over 2 decades. Yeah. Okay. So Beth, with your 2 decades of experience, you know, working in the blueberry industry and working on this family farm, how has the role of women changed over the years? You know, and what have you witnessed specifically, you know, through Naturipe?
That's a very interesting question. When I saw this question, I had to think about it because, you know, you stop thinking about things when you're involved in them a lot.
Right.
And, you know, when I think back as to the beginning, there are a lot more women involved today than there were 20 years ago. They just, you know, I used to go to the meetings with my husband, and it would be a few wives sprinkled in, you know, there weren't that many. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, there would never be a female speaker. It was always a male speaker doing the education part. And now that has grown into women from all walks of life are there. There are just as many or more women, you know, involved in Naturipe and the education part of Naturipe than there are men. And it's interesting because now you see women who are older, whose husbands have passed away, and they're now running the family farm. Right. They didn't retire and pass it down to a child, but they actually continued the running of the farm. So I think that women in the farming industry are feeling more empowered by the ability to take over and to do the things that, you know, typically would be considered a man's job. I mean, I have 4 daughters, and not a single one of them would blink an eye at going out and grabbing the tractor and doing what needed to get done because they've been raised that that's what you do. Oh,
and they're capable of it, right? Like they've been empowered with like, you can do it just as well as any man can do it. And, you know, you using even the work history you've shared, Beth, you know, filling out the government, you know, the government paperwork and being the steward of all that government compliance, food safety. These are critical tasks to the operation. Many would argue the most important tasks within any farming operation. And here you were as a woman paving the way, demonstrating to your family and all those around you, a woman can do this job.
Correct. You know, and it's funny because when it was decided that I would be the person to do that, the answer was, we don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt, or we don't want the auditor to get irritated by something that this person may say, because that person gets irritated over little things. And I was kind of chosen to do that because, I listen to what the government auditors are saying. And then it's one of those kind of girl things where, okay, I took that in and I will consider it, and I will not have a emotional knee-jerk reaction, and then I'll fix whatever it is they said I needed to do. But, sometimes the men on our farm have a tendency to have a knee-jerk reaction, and then they go back and consider it, and then they talk about it. So it was decided that maybe I'd have a softer hand at that. So that's how I kind of got into the food safety part. And, that I agree with you is such an interesting area. And there are so many things that we need to do to be compliant that the consumer has no clue of all the little tiny details that go into what shows up in the grocery store. And so I really appreciate you giving us a chance to talk about, that farming is not just something that just happens,
Right.
It is a lot of work. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you. And I completely agree with you. Beth, this has been an incredible discussion. Before we, get to our closing remarks, I'd love to share anything that, when I look ahead to the future as a female in agriculture, and as a female who gets to work with a lot of amazing companies, but especially with Naturipe Farms, the future looks bright. It looks amazing. Like, absolutely best days ahead for women in ag. But I'd love to hear your remarks. What's the future look like, not just for women in agriculture at large or women of Naturipe, but Bumbleberry Acres and everything that you're doing at A New Day Farms?
Absolutely. So when we hire people at Bumbleberry, we look for things that maybe the general population as a whole may not see inside of each of the girls that we employ. We do hire some boys, but we pay particular attention to the girls because we want to give them the stepping stones to be those empowered women. So, we look at girls that it's not that they're unemployable by someone else, but they're not going to get the things that are going to teach them to be strong women. And so we look at every applicant as what is their potential for future leadership. And so the girls that we hire, they get chosen for their potential for future leadership. And we look at not just what they look like or their personality that we see in that 10-minute interview, but we look at, how do they interact with people? And are they a compassionate person? Because I think too many people overlook that, and the men's world is kind of cutthroat, and that person who's compassionate may not get there as fast as the person who decides to be cutthroat and get there. But that person who has compassion and love for their fellow man, that is the person that's going to be the one that in the future, they're going to be the leader that everyone wants to work for. And we want to create women that are not just gangbangers to the top, but they get there because they've earned it and because they have shown a part of themselves that makes them worthy of other people's love and affection. And so we want them to be the people that, all their employees would look at and say, that's the person I want to be someday. And so we've had about 36 girls go through working with us over the various years. And we are so excited that every single one of them have become something. They may not be in farming, and that's okay, because they're out there changing the world on their own terms. They're out there becoming leaders in their own areas. We have girls that have become cosmetologists and then decided to go on beyond that, become an owner, because they feel empowered in themselves. And that's the kind of girls that we want to present to the world. We want to show them that, it doesn't matter where you came from, doesn't matter where you thought you were going, but you have the potential to go all the way. And so that's the kind of empowerment we do at Bumbleberry. may not be what everybody expects. I know a lot of our customers are blown away by their friendliness and how wonderful the girls are, but they don't all come in that way. And we just want to make sure that they go out that way.
Beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that. This has been an incredible episode. Beth, I have so enjoyed getting to know you, and do not be surprised when I show up this August with my family to celebrate with you at the blueberry capital of the world, and really just take in all that Bumbleberry Acres has to offer, because my goodness, your family's right. You're the right person to put on the mic, and you're the right person to put in charge of your agrotourism. I really enjoyed today's episode and getting to know you better. So thank you so much for being our guest. You actually get the final word and the goodbye to our audience today, but I want to make sure that folks know where they can find you online. And, we already mentioned the farm itself is located in South Haven, Michigan, but and you're probably enjoying the blueberries that Beth and her family have been growing for over, their 5th generation family farm. They've been growing these blueberries for, you're on your 4th generation of farming. The 5th generation are the babies that the 4th generation just had. So it's pretty amazing what you guys have accomplished. And, when you buy those Naturipe blueberries at the grocery store and they're being sourced out of Michigan, you can be confident that Beth and her family were part of growing those and supplying them to us all. So, Beth, thank you. You actually get the closing remarks, and the mic is yours for our goodbyes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for having me today. And I've really enjoyed talking with you. I've really enjoyed telling you a little bit about our farm and what we do. We look forward to seeing you come in August. That would be so much fun. Make sure you come on the weekend so you can ride the ponies, and we'll have a pie waiting for you, I guarantee. But I would just like to challenge the people in the audience today. First, go out and buy Naturipe berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. We have them all. They're fabulous. But also, when you look around at the girls around you, look at the inside a little bit and say, you know what? What does that girl need in experience in order to be a future leader? And maybe you'll find something that surprises you, just like we do every year when we hire. But I greatly appreciate you having me today, and everybody go out and grab some Naturipe blueberries.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.